I know one of the issues that you care a lot about then that has really impacted Wisconsin is gerrymandering. You know, as soon as I say gerrymandering, I can just see eyes glazing over. You know what I mean? But
totally.
like, explain what gerrymandering is for those who don't know.
The process of redistricting, that's like I think those two words often get interchanged, but the redistricting is a process that has to happen every 10 years. And basically, just like we take the census every 10 years, after the census, that information gets used to make sure that there is the same amount of people in every district, whether we're talking about state senators or state assembly or even in your city. Basically, that has to break down because each representative needs to represent basically the same amount of people, right? And people move, people die, people are born. And so like we knew in Wisconsin this year, most of the state, it was either flat or declined in population besides Dane County. So obviously there needs to be shifts around to accommodate those population shifts. Gerrymandering is the manipulation of that process to gain more political power. And so it basically is, how do you fudge the lines so that you consolidate people who vote one way into as few districts as possible, or make sure that there's like only a handful of those voters in districts that predominantly vote the other way, kind of like diluting their vote. And basically, if you do it in a certain way that Wisconsin for Republicans, but Illinois for Democrats, like this happens on both sides of whoever actually has the power to approve and draw the maps. And the problem with it is not because it's like, oh, this is a Democrat versus Republican thing. It's that people then end up in safe seats. So you get districts where it's so red that like a Democrat's never going to win, or, you know, parts of Madison, Milwaukee, where it's so blue that a Republican's never going to win. And what that drives is then hyper partisanship, that their only threat is either not getting funding from the party or getting primaried by someone even more extreme than them. It's part of the reason I think, and I think a lot of people think, like, how partisan and like gridlocked things have become, because people are not being held accountable to their actual constituents, because with gerrymandering, the politicians pick voters instead of voters picking politicians.
Right. It's that's a great line right there. Yeah, it's cheating is essentially what it is. What's right isn't always law, and what's law isn't always right. And gerrymandering isn't right at all. It's just bull. But the fact that it stays around, and now we have these, you're right, more extreme politicians are the ones primarying. So all we end up with is more extremes. And when you throw that into the mix with news, which then is also become hyper partisan, and then our national politics, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? If you're upset with gerrymandering in this practice, what can, citizens do?
This is the frustrating part. Because of gerrymandering, they're in safe seats, and so they don't have to be accountable to their constituents. So when the call to action is to call your senators and let them know that you're against gerrymandering, like, it's very easy to feel like, well, why would they do anything? With new technology and the software and the algorithms that we had access to in 2010, and how much more advanced they were than they were in 2000, how unbelievably precise the maps became. Literally, there's certain districts you can see like someone's house was like drawn into a district. Like, it's just like, bloop. So that's how it's like, it got so extreme in so many different places over the last 10 years. But the good thing is, like, we can actually also use that algorithm to create great maps. The thing with gerrymandering is it's so boring and it's so complicated to explain, but it precedes everything else that people really get fired up about, whether it's like medical marijuana or recreational marijuana or universal gun check, like background checks, or expanding badger care. It's all these things that are super, super popular and people really care about. But again, if they're not accountable, like if your representatives aren't accountable to you, why would they pass these things that really, it's like there's certain lobbyists who are the ones in there being like, yeah, we don't want this passed. So,
well, yeah, and lobbying's a whole other thing. I mean, that's cheating as well. You're basically just paying these guys to bribe these politicians, through corporate campaign donations, which there's no accountability on these campaign donations either. I mean, the whole system's messed up, but the reason it's going to continue to stay messed up is obviously this gerrymandering.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving.